Okay. There we go. So they'll be looking on this. Hold on. We'll just get this set up and then we'll start.
We'll start talking. So are we already on live?
Yeah, we're on live.
Hi, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I'm here with Jenny Lee, the internationally renowned remote viewer. And we're going to talk about tapping into just what's going on energetically. I mean, it's so intense right now. I know there's just a lot to talk about in regards to this. So, yeah, when you're ready, just share your thoughts. What are you feeling? What's been coming up for you?
Well, the thing is the past week we've been sitting in this energy, and it feels like we're getting more tired, more tired, more tired, and it seems to hit in the afternoon, and it feels like it's a 30-minute window, and then we have to crash and lay down. And it doesn't matter the vitamins you take, the water you drink. We're all thinking, gosh, is there something wrong with me? Am I having these problems or what's going on?
Mhm.
And it's not that way. It's just these frequencies that are coming in. We're going into an upgrade, and I think it has to do with a lot of the plasma upgrade that we're souls going into the crystalline process. On the other side of the aisle, they're dismantling. They're reacting in a negative way. We're just trying to take it in and move it towards our soul and work with it. It's not easy on that process. So that's what you're feeling. You're seeing people also stay more and more away from the public that are highly um, intelligent and highly connected to the spirit, because we can feel that negative energy presence so fast, and it's instantly boom, get away from it. You don't want to be in it, you don't want to deal with it. You're just completely absorbed into staying away from it because it doesn't feel normal. So that's the first thing. And then sleep is just not happening. It is We have not been in a deep sleep process in a long time. We are just at a light level of sleep. We're not even, our bodies and our minds is not going all the way down like we used to. It's just right at the edge. But what is go ahead.
No, totally. Keep going. Mm.
So what is weird is we something like that before we would be totally exhausted, and people like, how am I functioning? How am I keep going on this, and I don't know why. We're supposed to crash and burn in a different way, but we haven't done that. Um, but yeah, I mean, people are just don't understand. And so I honestly think when we use more of the spiritual body, the more of the conscience, we're using less of the flesh, less of that. So we don't need 8 hours. We're going down to 4 hours, 3 hours sometimes. Even though if it's consistent couple days on top of each other, it does affect us. But it's all over. Everybody is affected by it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's just such a strong Uranus energy, just like the nervous system.
Right.
I was on overload. I was completely on nervous system overload, and didn't show up at my best because I realized sometimes it's just hard to stop. Especially when everything's kind of stacked and back to back.
Right.
I kind of had sort of this need to just like crash and
Right.
just step away, and I did, and I feel so much better. But yeah, there's such a ramping up of this Uranus energy, and that really is the planet that stimulates the nervous system for upgrades. Uh, but we're seeing such a collapse of
Mhm.
a system that has put people in sort of trauma loops that are very unconscious, that are now coming to light, as far as some of the manipulative tactics that have made people so dependent on the system and everything outside of them, that I just feel like as empaths, we just need like a whole lot of rest, because that chaos is in the field, but we've been preparing and we know about it, but then feeling it is a whole nother thing.
Yes.
So yeah, you
So
compare people for a hurricane, then the hurricane comes, you're still gonna have to put the windows, board up the windows. So
so you have that higher conscience, and we do the work, the healers, all of us, we do the work, okay? And this is the thing, and everybody's gone through this, okay? So they go and they go and they go, and then that crash comes. And then sometimes it's a crash to where you can't even get out of bed because it's energy too. You know what I'm saying? On top of everything else and the stress. And then you're like, you push society away, like, nope, I'm not doing it. Because then spirit is telling you, you need to cut it down, because you're going way too fast. And they know the crash is coming. The crash is coming completely across the board. So we all go through that, and then we don't like to disappoint people and not being there and not showing up, and not, even if we worked 60 hours or 65 hours, we'll go because that we feel we have to do it.
I know. I think that's something a lot of people are experiencing. And I was raised that way. My mom would just work herself to the bone until she was completely burned out. And yeah, I had a really intense last couple of years, and I really wanted to be on your show, and I know that you guys would have been fine if I said I can't show up for whatever reason, but it was like back to back, and it was like into the next thing, and I hadn't eaten, I hadn't gotten really any sleep, and yeah, so I mean, knowing our limits is everything. I mean, so yeah, it's a lot to ground into these energies. I think a lot of people already have a grounding cord into the new earth energy, and they were born that way. I feel like you're definitely one of those individuals. And, but there's so much that wants to try and derail that and trip that up that, yeah, you just have to really, listen to yourself. So I just wanted to share that, because I know some people sometimes see me like not fully regulated and not, well rested, but I'd rather show up as I am than not be authentic or talk about this stuff when the time is right. So just bring this to light, because so many people experience it, whether it's with their career, with their families, with their children. Yeah, and it's interesting in that way. And I don't know, a lot of people also caregiving, taking care of people. I lost my father. I know a lot of people know about that. Many people have lost loved ones, family members. And sometimes just catching up with the grief. You think you've grieved enough, but you never really do. So I really needed to take a vacation, and I did get a couple days off. What are you sensing just in the planetary energies? Like, I mean,
Okay,
what I'm
so
the awakening
the mirror effect.
So much.
We're in the mirror effect. We need to reflect that we're seeing ourselves here, but we're on the outside of it too. And we think we're just this one circular motion of a spirit, and it's on.
Oh, you're frozen.
Understand that it's going two directions. It's going in two different directions. And so you have to reflect and not think that we are this one single spirit and everything's happening at that very time. I think things are changing by the hour of how we're feeling things, how the atmosphere on our planet is changing. And we think we're still thinking this is just me, and it's just this energy is just by itself, and it's not going to do anything. It's always going to stay in a 3D. It's not. So we're having these mirror effects. I think we're going back into memory before, these glimpses of memory. And also I think that we've left items and things on this planet, and now that memory's coming back. And that's why everybody's starting to look for things. They're like, I don't understand why I know I have to get this received or go into the ground and pick this up, or I have to go down this road or this path, because we're going into memory. And everybody thinks someone else left it. We left it. Now we're going back. So, and that's the thing. We have to put it together in a collective understanding, that mirror effect. And that's what's changing with us. But we keep analyzing in the 3D, and that's what confuses everything. That's what's changing.
And I love just the release of these files. I mean, there's no turning back now. There's no turning back. The people that have come here with powerful, missions and callings to really address the core wounds of this earth, the underbelly of all these different pillars of society, the trafficking, what's been going on in tunnels, what's been going on right beneath our feet in our local communities. I mean, this isn't just some elites out there that have power. We're talking, it's right under our nose. It's under
Yep.
hospitals. It's under, it's in schools, talented and gifted programs. I mean, the whole SSP thing and SRA, all these things are not just way over there. It's closer than we think. It's kids that our children might be sitting next to in class that might be victimized. This has to really be part of the conversation from this point forward. Teachers, people in the medical industry, people in the Hollywood industry that refuse to stay silent. I mean, I just see this as a massive domino effect that is just going to continue to grow. And yeah, and I think, yeah, what's happening in the nervous system is the signal is strengthening with our higher self and our intuition, and the signal, connected with a lot of these psyops and false flags and programs, are collapsing. And you see all that a lot, and you've called out so much for so long in order to help people distinguish between the inversions, the distortions versus truth.
Right.
How are you seeing, people, coping? Because I think, yeah, like you said, the exhaustion. How do you feel people are going to move through this dismantling of what they thought was reality? How do they take care of themselves and move through this? I guess, how can we support those that, not the I told you so, I know that doesn't work. So what are your thoughts?
So this is the thing. Spirit told me this a long time ago. It says as soon as they have hit the pavement, they've hit the ground. That is when you lend your hand out and say, do you want me to help you understand this now? Because all of us are podiums of light, specifically in certain directions in this world for that reason. There are going to be some that are going to ask for that. But I always say they're going to hit the pavement hard, and they're going to have a puke bucket in front of them, because that is the reality they chose. That's the path they chose to see it that way, hard and very forceful. So we're holding the line across and pulling them back up. Okay, stand in line now that you got it out of your system, you spiritually projected it all out. And then the acceptance stage. But you know what? Another stage that's coming in is the humbleness. There's stages of understanding, and there's stages of guilt of not seeing the children, not focusing on the damage that has happened worldwide for so long. And then the betrayal. The betrayal is going to take a hard part to accept, because you're thinking everything that I know, everything that I've been taught has all been a program. And the only thing that's safe is sitting behind the plated glass, looking at it in different views and saying, stay out of fear. Stay out of fear, view things, but don't get into emotional connection with it. Okay? Because it's going to change. There's a time of understanding information. So everybody's viewing these files right now. That energy alone is focused on that. But that's a veil that's coming down. You have to look at the Epstein file is a veil. Now, everybody's assuming the way, because we're reading it and we're thinking that that's all correct. And it's like, this is a stage. Why are they presenting it a certain way? So I believe there's a reason for it to be presented, but this is not the final process of this. There's something bigger behind it that's coming. And that's the one that I feel that the brain's going to be like, shit, this is a lot, because your whole body and your own knowing is going. The only thing I can do right now is stay grounded on the ground and view. Forget about time, forget about your deaths, forget about all that. That's all reality is going away. It's going away. And the less fear is what we need. The less fear, getting fear completely out of the box. And and I know, there's so many out there. That's all they want to push on YouTube. They want to push everywhere. They want to push that narrative. Fear. There's nothing to fear at this point. There's nothing to fear at this point. We were supposed to be dead a long time ago. We made it this far. Do you think we're going to collapse now? No, we're not. We're not. We're thriving. We're thriving.
Yeah. Well, the players that were pushing these dark agendas, the New World Order, the further enslavement of humanity, it's like there's nothing to fear because they have no leg to stand on. They have no real footing with being able to be successful with any of this. They were called out back when a huge part of the population was going for what that narrative was in 2019, 2020. They didn't succeed in that. And what ended up happening is, all this has, been coming to the surface. And you can't push it back down. You just can't push it back down. So there really isn't anything to fear. I think one of the big fears people have is they don't know who they are. They have gravitated to labels, movements, responses, diagnoses. It's just been a world of labels, and where the division is, I'm this and you're that, and therefore we don't agree with each other. And wow, those labels, it's like that's falling away. And I just feel this massive identity crisis with so many humans, like, who am I now? But that's when you really get to reclaim, the depth of soul. And you've been working with, people on that level, helping them to see beyond all that for so long. So this must feel really good, because I'm feeling really good. And I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good feeling. Yeah. The collapse up for us is acknowledgement that it's going to be over soon, because Spirit says, when it all ends, when there's only 3 days of darkness, everything that is dark goes down. And when the lights and everything turns back on, everything that is bad will be gone. It'll be gone. And they said, what do you have to worry about? It's going to be gone. The restart point is there. And that's the whole thing about this, is at that point, to me, is a relief. I'm like, gosh, I read a book for a couple days. It's dark. I'm good. Because I know when it comes back, it's all new world. But people like you and me and the UFO community, the spiritual community, all of them, information community, when that starts, we know there's another level of work to be done and a whole new level. We're all like, hurry up so we can start the next level of work that we got to do. We're not worried about the money. Like, can we get to the next phase of humanity? What do we need to do? That's the whole thing. And rallying up the people together as a collective, understanding their own identity of what they need to do to serve humanity. What are they going to do? How are they going to serve? That's the whole thing. And they're not. So because in the past, they thought, my dreams and my wishes for humanity, it can't happen, because I never get the chance. Now you do have the chance. You do have the chance to contribute, because your soul is saying, what is it you're going to do now? If you have everything, you can't sit on the couch anymore. It's about being proactive in every way. And to get people to look at that and understand, we have to come together as the collective now. As you see the government, and I say, that is not the government. It's going to go away. We are going into a council. And that's what the peace regions are. Regions, because we're going into a council. And that's what always needed to be. We're not going into war. All the stuff that you're seeing today on the left and the right side, it's that it has to finally come down to a certain point and then come back up together. Because something with the Epstein file, with this whole thing, there's a curtain that's going to come down and everybody's going to be standing there.
Well, that's the whole, it's just like stripping people, naked. And that nakedness is just now.
You don't know what happened there. Hold on. Okay.
It's like, now it's time to be soul-centered. And like you said, like humility, no more denial, no more running away, no more hiding behind a label or a movement. I mean, this 3D matrix is literally collapsing, but it doesn't mean like the 3D aspect goes away. It means it's not compartmentalized anymore, right? So it's like the lid is being lifted, whereas before the lid was what was repressing and compartmentalizing. Now that lid's open. It's like, wow, the ego identity is much more multidimensionally aware, much more spiritually attuned, much more able to allow the vehicle of ego to express soul instead of programs. And
right.
It's just incredible because,
that first step of that new sunlight that hits our earth, the new yellow sun, that the rays come towards your soul and nourish it again, and the clouds that's turned pink to give you humbleness again, and then the sound in the sky of a vibration that resides within our soul will ring again. This is all the signs that we have to listen to that are coming. Like I've said, the pink forever, it's coming. So the whole thing, those sounds, vibrations, has to do with what the negative can't even hear, and dismantles them by those vibrations and tones and frequencies. And that's what's kind of hitting Earth now. And that's why you're seeing the negative people, they're really dismantling in this process. And you can't look at them and go, they're not acting normal. What is your normal? Have you seen what's on this planet? NPCs, organic systems. We can go, that whole exposure when it is loud in the public eye, which is coming. I mean, they're going to be like, good God, and Spirit said to me, they're like, humans are at a 35%. You're going to see the actual human is about 35%. All these are other programs all around us. And we want to put it together as a human situation, is not. And I think when the cord is cut from their institution, and all you're going to see is these bodies fall on the ground, and they will never come back up again. They will never arise again. And in the human concept, we think we got to help them. Like, they're never going to be there. It's gone. And that's where you see the military, and it has these big shovels, and it just shovels things up. And I'm just telling you, that's coming. And then you're going to see these white tents in the bigger cities with military barriers, helicopters, drones. They're going to isolate the area, a certain area in each city, vent them, and decide where they need to go on the white buses. And that's what I've said forever. And so, go ahead.
No, I remember us talking about this last time you and I chatted, or when you were on Divine Mother Earth time. So yeah, keep going.
So when you have this area for the military to be able to be comfortable enough to get the information, decide where they need to go, you have to understand the ludicrous liberal society, because it's an unsafe environment for people. They don't want them to just freak out. So they're going to have to put them in an area until they can diagnose them and figure out what they can do. Because you have to understand, the negative side put this program in them. They don't know what to do without it. And so all they're doing is dismantling. And so it's a mess again, because that's what the negative side does. It leaves messes and someone else has to clean it up. That's the whole process of this. So they're going to have to vent them through the system. So you're going to see white tents up, military barriers, drones, and this night ops going left and right. So, because you need to look at the big process on this. This is all programming that's being done. They are not walking in the street doing that on, a conscious choice of doing it. They're taught to be a disruptor. But they are not comprehending the chain effect that it does. You know what I'm saying? They think that they'll get out of it because that's what they've been taught. We'll get out of it. It'll all go on our side. It's not. The reality is coming, and that's what they're dealing with now. So I don't think there's going to be a left and a right when we're done with this. I think it's going to be a whole society that's going to come together because of something's coming that's going to unveil a bigger process, just like I said with California. With those earthquakes and how I saw Mexico, starting from Mexico, everybody keeps asking about those earthquake predictions I have. There's a chain effect that happens in Mexico. And then that chain effect goes all the way to Orange County. And then it moves out to the sea and then comes back in and takes that coastline out and takes all the debris with it and goes back in on Hollywood and that Orange County and puts so much water it drowns out that area, and then goes up the coast to San Francisco. I mean, the soil underneath California is so weak. It's like quicksand in some areas. So that's going to be your new islands in different ways. But things are changing. So then they said there's a sound that you're going to hear in the sky. But that opening, I have a drawing of it, but it's an opening, how it opens up and water goes down into the earth and then comes back up too. So there's a lot of events that lead to California in that chain effect process. I mean, you guys look at what they're doing to California. They're doing things that you would never think they're doing. You know, corporations are moving out, people are moving out. They're taxing the heck out of whoever they can to keep them in California, to tie them to California. Does that tell you? To me, it looks like a dismantling phases. Dismantling California is what they're doing. It's ludicrous.
Yeah. I mean, think of the anomalies with the weather too right now. I mean, how much do you feel this dismantling? Is it all like, who's it coming from, and how much dismantling is still battling the dark?
I think this is one of my biggest things. I said, you want to know about the laws, okay? They're arresting the judges, they're arresting the lawyers, they're by the droves. Okay, we're at that layer because you got the cartel, that's done. And Minnesota was something I was like, this is a given. It's a cesspool of corruption there. And now that that's all open, and they're still trying to act like they're in charge. Well, Minnesota doesn't have any more money because they're not getting any more money for anything. So, and you can protect yourself in one little city. But let me tell you, on the outskirts of that city are all farmers just saying, come out here, because they're pissed and they're mad. So they're all sitting in the city. But like I said, they can get to a point where they can contain these cities to a certain level, but you ain't going to have food that's going to go in them. You're going to have semis that are going to go in there. You're not going to have gas that's going to go in there. They can close it down and layer by layer. It depends on how these cities want to go, because that's what's going to happen. So when that happens, and I think Minnesota's one you want to watch and see how they dismantle it. I think they're using that city as an example in that process. Big time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gosh. It's going to be, really intense, because I just feel like everything's also being, gutted. The amount of swamps being drained is just, nothing can maintain the social engineering anymore. Like, it just can't be maintained anymore. And it's reached such a peak that the level of healing that's going to be needed to help people recover from, what they decided to do, what they did out of fear. I feel if we could get just sound healing moving through the 5G towers, and using the same technology, but weaponizing it so that there's nothing but a feeling of healing and camaraderie, and because it's not now the denial is lifting about things like Epstein, but like you said, there are many layers now.
Yes.
It's not denying the depth of healing that needs to take place on a much more holistic level, to understand also what we've gone through on a galactic level, and the true history of this earth. I mean, there's so much, to go on. And I mean, and kids' minds are very open. I mean, we'll learn about dinosaurs, we'll learn about all sorts of things in grade school. It's not going to be too much for any child to learn about our galactic history, or to learn about chakras, or growing food, just things that are really going to be, more sustainable. So, and the thing is, every soul has that deeper calling in them that they've lost connection to, in exchange for that paycheck and whatever indoctrination or social engineering. So, but yeah, the trauma of that awakening is the point in which we're at. Like you're talking, like you're saying, right? So, and trauma can bring us closer together, or create more fragmentation and more entity attachments. So, and if there are more people like you out there that could be that guide. It doesn't have to be so painful. It's just what
Right.
doctors or teachers are going to be able to address things on this level. It's going to take a while. So
They're not. And that's the same thing with doctors. Okay, so let's do an example of the med beds. And I'm going to tell you straight across what I've known for a long time, and it's just because I know somebody. I'm not going to say who I know. The point is I know how military protocol happens. So, and they are the ones completely in control of the situation. The military, and they don't need to be loud about things. And they told me, there's going to be at all levels of hospitals, up upper 2 levels, and that it's not something you have to sign up for. They already know where you are, what disease you have, how to contact you.
keep going. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. And when that happens, then you're going to see slowly in regions of these hospitals dismantling the normal care units that they're doing. And so you're going to wipe out the pharmaceuticals overnight when those launch. They're not going 1 or 2 here. It's like a chessboard, and it's all going to be a circuit, and it's going to come online, and it's going to be quick, and it's going to be free, no cost, nothing for this whole process, because the higher technology is part of the healing process. And so, and I think that alone, the word free with things, because you've been enslaved in the process, everything costs money. The shock factor for society on that is going to be enormous. The shock factor for the government giving you bigger amounts of money, most people are like, this has got to be a mistake. I don't believe this. I'm not going to spend this. They're going to be in a stillness for a while to think that that's going to happen. Because in their soul, they've been taught, you don't deserve this. This is the way you have to work and function to get there. You never get there. And now they're going to start to understand the real value of their soul and what they were here to do. That is another shock system for them. And once that hits, then they're going to look to each other. Okay, we have to recreate this world on honesty and balance. And that's the whole thing. So the healing, and I said years ago that the most important people on this earth is going to be the healers. Because they are the podium of light, and they have to be in a collective working together, shining that light, because these doctrines don't have it. They don't have the knowledge of energy.
Right.
I wouldn't even see them near a med bed because they don't understand energy.
No, not at all.
It's not at all.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So that approach is, going to be everything, because in the process of deeply healing, truth is uncovered about our history, about our lives, about ancestral patterns, about things that have been, generally unconscious. And in that unconsciousness, it's like we're always at the mercy of the diagnosis, the trajectory that the doctor or somebody outside of us gives to us. And that's the same thing with, artificial timelines. What does the news say? People all wrapped up in something that binds their creative energy, that we don't realize we're actually helping to manifest, because we're giving that power, away. And it's going to be incredible. I do a lot of presentations about the weaponization of the zodiac and different astrological signs, and how far removed they are from the integration of polarity that's required. Like Virgo, Mercury, Earth, physiology. How does the mind talk to the body? Well, if it's talking programming to the body, and you don't get to the root of that and understand where it's coming from, then that Neptune, Pisces, that's the opposite, is just in the lower astral, entity attachments, haunted imagination, creative energy siphoning, without reaching that Christ consciousness that feeds the physical body, the miracle vibration that helps us to heal really fast. And that's the North and South node right now. And for somebody like you, that comes natural. Like, you just know, right? And for other people, to not have that voice, that fear of falling back on the self. These are underworlds we've gone down, and some humans avoid it at all costs. That's why they go on the medication, because they can't stand the growth periods, when really that passage is taking you closer, to yourself. So because we know exactly, how to heal, and doctors never are empowering in that way. Like, you almost feel like you have to shut up because you don't want to like hurt their ego. And I don't go to
Oh
doctors,
yeah.
I refuse them. But I was at the doctor with my father, and you could just feel the resentment of actually knowing something that they might not be advising you.
Right.
Just like,
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the whole thing. Like, I'll tell you what you're saying. You're tapping into something that spirit showed me. They go, each cell in your body can hear the vibration that you think in your mind and your conscience. So if you tell yourself, I'm not going to heal, the cells react in what you bring in. So I tell people, when you're healing, you have to tell the cells, I'm going to heal. And that's why you see with cancer patients, they get the word cancer and they think, I'm dying, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And the cells take that direction and shut down. And that's the whole thing. They don't, then when they look at things that are alive and functioning in your body, you have to be careful of your words and direction and not put fear into healing in any source. But they do, and that's the whole thing. I mean, you look at what doctrines do, and they want to put you through chemo. It's poison, and because society did not go into doubting the doctrines because they went through a man-made conscience level of saying this is what's right and this is wrong. And and that's just at a human level. These guys weren't highly intuitive doctors. These were not Albert Einstein. They didn't have these incredible knowing information to tap in beyond the human concept. They don't. They go by the book that was brought in by the program. you know you're limited because I cannot give you any information beyond what I have trained to give you. Period. Shut them down.
this is just, I mean, this breakthrough energy is like so intense. And just where I was, kind of raised, or in the DC area, and just, I don't know, just the school systems that I had struggled with so much. And to see, it's not about like right or wrong. It's just, when people realize how much they've invested in something, that they can take it that one step further and expand into, this next level. But for some, yeah, it's going to be a lot harder. I mean, like, a doctor can always have the skill set that they learned,
Right.
and then expand into the energy fields and
Right.
understanding the way energy works and going deeper. Um, but there's going to be, some positions that just don't have any legitimacy anymore.
Mm-mm.
And then there's the
No.
question, if you're going to keep
Time.
doing it for the paycheck, and then the whole currency system is changing because it's inviting it to a higher level of integrity as a currency of spirit in this physical realm, instead of
Yes.
vampirism and exploitation of the vulnerable in order to make a lot of money, because that's what
Right.
you're taught to do, without realizing that you're keeping people enslaved. It's not that people are doing that on purpose, but that's what the programming does.
Right. So this is what I'm going to tell you. You hold your silver like you hold your gun. This is the only time, and I told people, you want to know how this is going to flip? And this is what I said 3 years ago. I keep repeating myself 3 years ago, but XRP is going to go straight to the top. That is your celebration, because that is the end of the cabal when that XRP hits. Okay, so right now we're in the phase of everything going down. They said it's going to go down, everything's going to go down, and then it's going to go back up, and it's going to shoot up high. So you hold the silver like it is your gun. This is your weapon against them. Do not sell it. They want to push it down as low as they can to give you what they have left for supply. Their paper supply was non-existent. This is where we hold the line and say, nope, we got what you want, and we'll starve a little, but we're going to get through this. And honesty is on the other side. This is the time that banks don't get saved. This is the time that the people take them down. So I tell people, you hold that silver like you hold your gun. You don't let it go. You hold on to it. And then I said, like I talked about copper, because Spirit was like, fast. Tell them about copper fast. And then copper started going up, So that's another process that's going to go crazy by a year from now. It's going to be like silver to a certain degree. People are like, how? And I'm like, watch. So, so I think silver is going to go pretty high on that
Dipping down a
process.
bit now, but yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's because there was a big surge, right? And the profits being made and then the XRP going up, and then that's the celebration you're seeing on the other side of that. That's when the metals will.
Yes. So XRP, all, the whole market. And then because you have to understand it's flipping the corruption. And then once it flips, all these, I'll call them golden bars and golden light that's going to go up, and they can never come back from it at all. And then that's the people that stayed strong in the process, the stock market, the fraud that goes on in there. They're showing you how bad it is, but they're just waiting for that. I'm telling the XRP, it's gonna go up. Once that goes up, then it's never gonna go back down again in that way. And then the golden age will be rung in. That's the whole process of it. But we have to bear witness to what's going on. You have to see it, perceive it, and never forget about it, of what has happened. It's crazy. True.
And that's what's wild about the golden silver gate. When we look at the divine masculine and feminine, it's the gold silver. It's the moon and the sun. It's moving out of the weaponization of these energies, or the trying to mask or diminish the sun, or keep the lunar energy in this sort of artificial Saturn moon matrix. The currency, the metals, that's a very, very different currency to be working with than a piece of paper with Illuminati symbols. It's just, and it's tied to consciousness. It's tied to integrity. It's tied to a different form of currency that is much more aligned with cosmic and natural law, not inversion and corruption, and then just everything that old system has represented. So, yeah. And that's what's so important, what you're saying, not to fear, because fear and the whole survival energy, the fight or flight, you cannot think clearly. Your intuition is not on board at all. You're making decisions that you look back on and you just don't know what you did. And when you're calm and you trust, it's like all that information. That's why you're able to do what you do. You maintain that antenna connection to source, and your heart, your soul, your intuition. And you see exactly the games being played that throw people off of that.
Yeah.
And to lose that when it's always there is not because you don't have it. It's because you've just been convinced it doesn't exist, or it's something to fear, or when not something to fear, but something to negate.
Right.
It's not encouraged. It's not been modeled to us. It can be encouraged, but in a 𝑑eepak Chopra kind of way, and look at him. So it's just.
So there's the negative. This is the fear that the negative has. You guys, it has nowhere to go. There's no, benefits anymore. Okay. As they die, it doesn't benefit them. They're going to a place that's repeatedly over and over and over again for any one little speck of blood from an innocent child. You're done. There's no excuses. I don't care what you come up with. Your conscience had knowledge of knowing. That's all that matters. So the whole thing with this, they're done. And I heard this, like, we're going to take as many as we can with us if we're going to lose this fight. And that's what they're doing. They're attacking the conscience. They're going after the strong ones. They're trying to weaken the weak ones and confuse on a constant basis of this. And this is the thing too that everybody talks about. Well, you have these nuke wars. There's never going to be another nuke war. Let me tell you, because
I agree.
Trump went around to each country in 2016 to assure that, because we were never going to get to a higher technology process, because we had to get rid of that. So they can say whatever they want. You look at the military, they're using different weapons there's a reason for everything. So that fear, just throw it out the damn window, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So they can't use that propaganda anymore. Everything, Hollywood, Disneyland, it's dismantling. It's going to be, and then you're going to get into this river of massive water of basically it's flowing so much. You got so much information. everything's being dismantled, and you're just like, I'm just going to sit back and wait because it's just going to keep going. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the amount of, children that are going to be rescued or kept from, just a horrible circumstance, that's just going to get stronger. And I really feel that the people that normally would have joined the military are going to be more vigilante and more sovereign and do what they're called to do without, and those things are going to collapse anyway, but it gives people the opportunity to regroup from a much more empowered place. And all these different skills, gifts, and abilities that people have will no longer be used in this compartmentalized way where they're serving a dark agenda without realizing it, and their good intent is being used in a way that they don't realize. When you think of what people don't know or understand, I mean, even people that go to some of these parties, it's behind a door that they never go into. A doctor that might show up or one of the best nurses might not realize what's going on, underground, or when a child is born and they take them away and they start putting drops in their eyes. These sort of things, it's going to really, really flush out the plants and the scary villains that hide in plain sight, that convince the others what to do. So that's, and the amount of children and protection for the innocent is just, going to grow. People will really be who they came here to truly be. And it's about time, because the hijacking has been for thousands of years. When you think about it, it's like going to war, all of this.
So the thing, when I got involved with child trafficking and missing persons, and you get to a point, you ask Spirit to go, how's my soul supposed to adapt to this information? And, they're like, and they come back and they're like, we'll use you as a light vessel, but I need you to disconnect your emotion to this, because you got to be a good vessel, but you have to get to the very fine line of information. And so I had to learn to disconnect that. Now, when you're doing that and you're still observing, you're seeing all the details, the information you thought you would never see in your lifetime, or even the things that they come up with and create and do, it's in a sick mind of twisting. And then you have those moments after you're doing this for a long time, and I think it was about a year and a half. At a point, I just kept going and going, and then it comes to you, that emotion, that hurt, that you have to break down and say, I'm a human, and I have to, on my side, on my own side, in my own time, in my own privacy, break down at that point. But then you have to get back up and say they need you, and you have to do it again and again and again until it's over, completely done, universally. And so, and those, I think there's got to be such honor in the ones that are literally in the deep pit of it. They're what they have to go through daily, what they have to see, how they've been trained, just to look at that and go, the only way I'm going to get through this is understand that I have to complete this mission. And if I don't, no one gets saved. That's the whole thing. So I think on the end of this, on the other side of it, of acknowledging the ones that did all the work, you got to understand, as a soldier comes to that rest point, they are going to have to deal with the pain. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing on all levels of that. So that's going to be an epidemic in a different way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where compassion is so needed. I mean, this is what I don't understand. And unfortunately, I've had maybe a breakdown or more than one, not privately, like I should, which would have been better. But when you see, the superficiality, though, I mean, this isn't Hollywood. This disclosure or being, on camera and doing this kind of work, to me, is not entertainment. It's not performance. It's not acting. It's not for money. And, it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot just to be human. It takes a lot to be an individual sharing the information and a person awakening to the information and everything in between. So the compassion has to really amp up. We have to realize that we're in a gaping wound that's working on healing. And a wound is susceptible to infection or to forming scar tissue that's stronger than the skin that was there before. So and us all working together and coming together, more hugs, more understanding, more compassion, is going to be everything, instead of the either I told you so's or you were involved in so and so. If maybe an actor wants to come clean, and yes, there has to be accountability, no doubt. But we want to help those that have been blackmailed. We want to help them remove the fear of what is going to be done to them if they come clean. And they'll be needing to do a course correction with source and with their own life. And I just think instead of prison, for many, there's going to need to be rehabilitation and a major deprogramming and understanding of how old was that, individual when they were targeted, how much were they abused, and let's treat people more humanely that might have been wrapped up in some dark things, because a lot of them are victims. And I just think that there's a lot of compassion lacking. It doesn't make it okay, but we have to see each individual and understand their story, just like we want to understand the uniqueness of every single child in a school system, and not expect an A to mean you're successful and smart and an F to mean that you're stupid. I'm just so sick of this lack of really looking at a soul and what they've gone through and who they truly are. And this is what it's going to take, because then we'll be able to see who the dark players really are, the ones that don't care to heal, the ones that are literally possessed by a demon that has occupied their vessel, and there's no longer that soul. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I do. And that's the thing, because society and the prison system, the corruption with the judges, as you will acknowledge, and the corruption as the lawyers, as you will acknowledge, and as they are bought off and paid for, then you have to ask yourself, so who's in the prison system that's supposed to be, have to do a retrial again on all these corrupt cases? So you want to ask yourself, how much is it rigged? And it's going to be a high number.
Oh, I know. It is so rigged. There's so much there's lawfare. There's the targeting. I was recently targeted through the court system, and I got through it. And that's why I had such a really difficult couple of years on top of other things. And we all have our stuff for sure, but so much is rigged in the system. And most of these, individuals show up at these rituals, police officers, judges, I mean, there's a whole system and network that literally has made it so what they do is hidden, and they have some sort of authority over anybody else. So, and there's some people that are naturally born for justice that would make great judges. So get out of the way and let those people occupy that. So I just love it. It is such a collapse. And what's rising out of the ashes of all of it, are the real deal people that should be in positions that won't be rigged anymore, that will be placed in these positions because they've earned that trust in the people, not like a Gates out there, not these unelected individuals that just tell us how it is and what to do. It's just finally, I don't care how long well, I don't want to say that, but it's just, there's no turning back.
The Mason program is going to go down across the board. It's the in-depth process that it's weaved into the whole situation. So, and then it could be up to 75% of law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
Because the ones that are away from it or not connected to it are working independently and do not tell anybody anything, because they know it's the brotherhood in a different way.
Yeah.
It's a sick-ass brotherhood.
Oh, yeah.
Of what they do, and the narcissism in it that they've created. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they just think, they have ultimate authority. They never really saw this day coming. I mean, they rigged the whole system to keep the 13th, flame, the mother energy, returning to the planet. They've targeted starseeds since time of birth, and advanced souls, and gifted and talented programs, and SSP. I mean, they literally have tried to rob the planet of the most advanced souls, to weaponize them to complete their agenda. And who did they think they were messing with? Because it is the fact that they're advanced, that they're able to, collapse us in the end. And I know, you had your share of, targeting, and you're untouchable. You're untouchable. They tried to recruit me to Mars. Sorry. And anybody who has been entangled in it, then you get to understand it from, the depth of all that it the depth of the architecture that exists there to rise above and collapse it. I mean,
Right.
and that's what's beautiful, because there's nothing to fear the minute you regain yourself and you start that
Yeah.
process.
So what I would like to see change in, like we all came here as a podiums of light, and I'd like to see the spiritual community start to look at that as we need to come in a circle, like literally a live circle of bringing in that, because that energy with that live circle of people coming together in a powerful way, too, that brings an energy that changes the earth. And that's the problem. You're not seeing that. They're still separated. They're still thinking they need to do things individually. They're still got to get out of the ego and say, listen, we have to bring this in a circle motion, in a collective, as one. He has to work as one. You have to work on these ley lines as one, these pyramids as one, like they did before, not waiting for the government. What Trump is trying to do, we are ahead of this, and we're not in that position where we should be right now.
Mm-hmm.
A big process is we had to filter through all the fraud stuff that they were diluting it. And I think we're at the point that you're seeing people have figured it out. What's actually working for the light? What's actually working, making a collective of energy? And so you see that now. And now it's like, okay, let's get into the next step. What's the next step? To work as the collective and start going that direction.
Yeah.
But everybody's worried about the media, the stuff that's going on here. It's not what they want anymore.
Yeah. That's why, when you said that's a veil, when you lift that veil, I mean, that's just been preying upon fragmentation and unresolved trauma and amnesia. And it just grew and grew like a cancer because of the unconsciousness and the inability to have discernment and see it for what it really was. To see the glitz and glamour and like actually want to strive to be like that instead of see the depravity connected to a lot of these individuals. And to rebuild our 12 strand and beyond, and to connect with the original architecture of the planetary grids, we do need to come together. It wants us to be as splintered as possible. So yeah, and I really look forward to all that's to come. And having this conversation is so uplifting. It makes me feel so much better, because kind of had a really kind of a dark night of the soul not too long ago. And this is so important. And what a lot of us have been navigating with, a lot of people that have wanted to create harm,
Right.
in whatever communities, disclosure and truth, people associate with, communities or speakers or people. And, to take this approach of coming together to have these transparent kind of conversations, I think is totally where it's at.
Right. And that's the whole thing. So that's what Spirit says, that next step has not come. The next step of the collective. And they think it's not 9, it's not 200, it's thousands as the collective together, creating an energy. And that's the whole thing, that viewing on YouTube, viewing that, and if they start to see that being created, they're going to start, and as they will start to follow beyond. That's where all the eyes are looking, and they're looking at these people that have already led them. Well, we're at another level that needs to be led. And this is the thing. I get over things quick. It's just you call a condition out the way it is, and it's like, okay, you done doing that? Yes. Okay, now let's move on to the next step that we're supposed to be creating here.
Oh, I know.
But they want to hold back and hang on to that stuff, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here to move on to the next level. And you can't do that if you're holding in that damn ego and staying in it.
Oh, I know. And I mean, it's so beautiful to just come together and just share what we're going through and be real about it, and the challenges. And yeah, it's really the most important thing right now. And yeah, there's something else I was going to say. I can't really remember what it was, but yeah, it's it can only get better. It can really only get better. And unconditional love is source intervening through us, knowing how to kind of forgive, self-correct, hold ourselves accountable. And I mean, and I just have to say this, I tend to take things out on myself when something is happening because I'm not going to take it out on somebody else.
Right.
So I think for some, developing more resilience to the madness of it all, when you just want everything to heal and come together and be okay. And maybe for those that are more, ego-centered, to, realize that you just don't have a whole lot to hang on to, because we're moving out of hierarchy. Everybody holds a leadership position. And that ether element coming in, and just all the shifts and changes in the alchemy, is just like, we're here to heal the wounds and recognize the wounds, because Ophiuchus is the 13 signs connected to Chiron. And wounds bring purpose and wisdom, or they can, cause a lot more narcissistic and deranged ego behavior, because none of us can safely say that we've never been wounded or aren't dealing with it to some degree, or an aspect of this mission or journey that doesn't sometimes take us by surprise, and we still have stuff to work on. Because to me, enlightenment is not something you arrive at and then you're there for good. To me, it's the understanding of maintenance, that, when things pile up, you have to take the time to clear it. That's what we see in the physical realm. And I know I say this metaphor a lot, with like keeping the kitchen clean and washing the dishes, and the mental body, the spiritual bodies, and the emotional bodies are no different. Things can accumulate, and there has to be a release valve. And that to me means we can maintain balance, equilibrium, and a sense of enlightenment. But we're not just running off to some hill and meditating. I mean, we're like right there in the thick of it. So let's all cut ourselves slack and cut each other some slack.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. And this is where the spiritual community is not looking at the fact that's like, all this is done. Now they're going to be like, okay, this was always supposed to be developed right after the XRP and everything hits. What are you going to do? Well, everybody's going to be disarrayed and like not putting stuff together. And they're going to want to do it at 110 miles an hour. And I've been talking about this for a while. It's got to start, and everybody's in their own corner doing their own thing. And that whole energy movement, because I'll tell you what's involved in that is a different type of plasma that's beneath our feet, that's waiting for it to surface. When it does, it's like being in a show. Everybody's off key, uncoordinated, and just throwing it together. It's not going to be good. So they need to start with this coordination of this development of humanity in the light. And it's going to happen that way, because no one wants to listen yet. Not at all.
Right. And I just love seeing it in that way, just tuning up our own personal instrument, because we're all hold frequency. We either get caught in the distortion field and we spread it, or we're, standing in our strength, our sovereignty, our integrity, and it activates people. When we speak to each other's soul instead of the programmings or the wounds or the traumas or the things that we remember about a bad day they might have had. I mean, like you said, we have to move forward and really come together. And CLAPS, this matrix, we're elemental beings, so we can literally transmute the geoengineering if we can stop being socially engineered. Because as elemental beings, every socially engineered human is contributing to the geoengineering, because all this weaponry is based in harvesting energy, right?
Right. Exactly. It is. And that's the whole thing about it. It's just when we find out what's underneath the core of our earth, that we could have tapped in a long time ago and used it and utilized it because it was there for us all along. They just hid it and suppressed it. And now it has to be in a controlled environment. But, this is the whole thing about being able to consciously be there and use it and watch the power. I mean, I've seen it. What you think, what you speak has power behind it. And I've seen it. I don't doubt it anymore, because I see it so fast and how it advance. But yeah, it's part of it. It would be good for that to get unlined in this process. It would be good.
Yeah. I feel like that's where it's all heading. There's nowhere else, people can go when they're dismantling whatever it is that caused this dependency bond, because what's waiting underneath it all, just like you said with the earth and the plasma, is what we're unearthing when we do the soul archaeology and we dig deep into who are we really, instead of who did we allow ourselves to become, that is not accommodating our soul expression or what our higher self is guiding us to do and what our
Mm.
intuition is showing. It's like all these things can be strengthened from the time of childhood. And this is what your life's work has been about, is holding the ground, the sacred space.
Right.
And it's just so incredible. Like, I just really appreciate talking to you, and you've held it
Yeah.
for so long, for everyone, and you continue to. So
Yeah, I just do what spirit tells me to do, and I stay on that path since day one. And that's what we all got to do, is just, and that's why I want people to go within and understand that they have a meaning for here to be, and you're here at this time for a reason. Your ancestors were not born into this process. You were born into this process. How are you contributing? What are you supposed to be doing? And that's why I don't reside with people like I don't have any goals. I don't have any dreams. I don't know what I want to do. Yes, you do. You're just afraid to achieve it. You're afraid that you're going to fail, and you're not, because it all has to do with your spirit utilizing the level of understanding,
yeah.
utilizing in a direction. And that's the whole thing. We can't fail. Look behind you. You didn't fail.
No, like you said, with the cells and just how our cells respond to our thought forms, so does physical reality. Sometimes it doesn't show up in the way that we expect, but to start to lose faith changes the dialogue with your creative energy, and you're just going to see more things to reinforce, the fear, the anxiety, instead of the things that show the synchronicities and opportunities to reach those goals. And that's why we really have to address, these deep childhood wounds, ancient traumas, past lives, and this is what Jenny does, you guys. And I know everybody on your channel is very familiar with her, and folks on my channel. This is Jenny Lee, and I'm so excited to have had this conversation. Any final words before we close that you want to make sure we share?
Well, I just think, like I said, we're going into regions, and we have to start to act like we're the border process is only a temporary situation. Then it's going to work as in 4 regions together. So passports, your whole identity and all that stuff of them tracking you is going to change on that whole level of things. So we have to embrace the future that's coming. You're going to be healed. Your body's going to be healed. What are you going to do after that? That's the thing. What's next for you? And humanity needs to look at that in a different way. And then again, hold on to your silver like it's your gun, because you're going to love the end of this when it comes to the silver. And you're going to feel
really important
empowered by it. Totally. And I'm doing these financial readings and stuff like that, because Spirit told me this is the stock market to go by. This is what they need to buy. And it's like, okay. And I'm watching it go up, and it's going down the way they say it's going to go down. So I really believe that we're in the door of the golden age. And that's what's going on.
Totally. So, absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. This was great conversation and everything. So I'll have to do this again.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. And we'll have you on Divine Mother Earth Time really soon too. And thank you again for joining me today. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And so much to embrace. It's all in us. So let's enjoy and celebrate.
It is. Okay, you guys, good night. Stay in the light.